Ujai, and welcome to the Wisdom of the Nile show. And I'm Nehipsa Nesivic, and I'm here representing the Earth Center. So first of all, we'd just like to acknowledge the divine, the creators of the existence. Yes, the divine world. Yeah, without them, there would be no existence. So, we have to honor that world. And also, we want to honor, acknowledge the ancestors, the world of the dead. They're the ancestors, and they're the ones that stood before us. They're the ones whose shoulder that we stand on. And they have become like the intermediate between the two dimensions, between this dimension and that dimension, which we just honored. And being that they're our ancestors, when they die, when our relatives or our loved ones, they die, they become dead relatives. So we have to feed our ancestors, to help to elevate them, our dead relatives, to become ancestors. Like say tomorrow is going to be an ancestral holy day. So that's going to be like a day every decade. We honor them really, and as I said, tomorrow is an ancestral holy day. And that's the day when we prepare like a meal, a drink, to assist them. It's a spiritual exchange between us and them. You know, it's a memory, you know, a dialogue that we create between them. And as I said, within the sidereal calendar, it gives us the most energetical day, which is, as I said, tomorrow, that we can create that dialogue with them. I also want to acknowledge the Makaru, Prophet Nebnabam Lemusa Morandenebig. And, you know, he's a Kmetic Dogon High Priest who established the Herb Center, you know, after seeking permission from the Gulmu Kingship, really. And he sought permission, and they gave him permission to bring this knowledge, this ancient Kmetic knowledge, here to us in the Western world, you know, with the aim to bridge the gap, because we're left far behind, really, right? So Master Naba realized that, you know, he's got to create that bridge, you know, so that we can cross over, you know, otherwise we're going to become stranded. Yeah. And so within the Earth Center, you know, one of his branch is the Umtam School of Kmetic Philosophy and Spirituality. And within that, we're taught like 3 subjects. So those 3 subjects really kind of helps to cover, or it covers the 360-degree knowledge of what we really need to know about life and our existence. And those 3 classes, you know, they're Medu, Katibi, and Sunt, you know. And as I said, you know, with those 3 classes, it gives you the 4 dimensions of everything as a human being you need to know to help to elevate yourself, you know. And so this knowledge that our Master Naba brought to us, you know, this has been preserved for thousands of years, you know, and it's passed down from generation to generation. And it's done so through like initiation programs, like initiation, what we're going through now. Slightly different to what they do back in Merita, in the bush. But this is like the westernized version of what we're going through, which is, you know, it's still challenging, very challenging. And this knowledge, as I said, it's knowledge, right? That's gone back, way back to the pharaonic period, really, and it has survived, like say, the invasion of various different invaders, you know, such as the Greeks and the Persians and all those that came after, really, up to this present day. We're still kind of trying to survive and resist the challenges, really, right, from the Western world and their influences, really. So we give thanks for our Master Naba, really, right, for trying to bring us forward. And, you know, as we said, you know, Master Naba, he transitioned, really, and so Naba Irita Shamira, he's continued the journey, and hence this is how we've got it here in the UK, you know, because Master Naba first established the 3 schools in America. And that's where he got it up to that stage, and then Naba Irita has continued to grow the schools internationally. So now we've got about 12 schools global, and you know, we give thanks, really, continually. Yeah. You know, as an initiate, you know, it would have been a privilege, a pleasure, really, to meet Master Naba personally, but I never got to that opportunity. But, you know, we can see through his work, yeah, we can see through the work that he's left behind. You can tell that, you know, you can see through the work that he's done, you know. And we've got to look at the sacrifice that he actually made, really, to take the school to where it is, really. As initiates, we would play a part in the school, and, you know, there's many of us. And to think that one man came and you know, he sacrificed his family, he sacrificed his life, you know. And so we have to give thanks for that, because we look at it. How many of us would make sacrifices, really, you know, to give up their life, really, you know. And so that's the compassion that Master Naba had for humanity, that he gave that up, you know. And really, for humankind, life is basically the ultimate thing that we have. So to give that up, really, you know, for another man, really, you know, we have to give credit for that, really. You know, especially like in this society here, you know, we're taught to be selfish, really, you know. It's just you alone, no one counts, you know. Just look out for yourself. Don't feel no way to step on someone else, you know. Your aim is to get to the top any means possible, and we literally see that happening out there, really, you know. So yeah, every man for themselves, this is what they say. I know we came here by ourselves, but we can't survive by ourselves. And this is what, like, say, the traditional knowledge, education, the knowledge that they give you, to realize that we function together as a community. Although we're single entities, but we can't exist by ourselves. I mean, when we look in nature, you don't see nothing out there in nature that's by itself. You don't. You know, so I think we have to learn from that, really, right? And then that will probably help us to kind of get to where we need to get to, and understand that no man is an island, as Dennis Brown would say, you know. Yeah, so we as human beings, we tend to function on this ego. It's all about ego, you know. The system has basically directed us, really, to chase after material things, and so this is what we do. There is nothing there that they're giving us, really, that's going to help us or can help us to spiritually grow, which is the most important aspect of us. But the system seemed to put material things in front, and you know, they say all that's glitter is not gold, but it does dazzle our eyes, and that's what's happening, really, you know. So we become overwhelmed, really, and because, like, from a young age, in the Merita there, from the age of 7, a child would be taught, you know, his rites of passage. So he knows, you know, what he actually came here to serve, his purpose. Here, we don't know who we are, we don't know where we're going. So this is where the system takes charge. Yeah, it does that very well. It gives us religion and everything else, you know. Yeah, that's the guidelines that they give us, you know, to send us down a dead end road. And as we can see, within the black community, we know that we're very spiritual people, but we've been misguided and been given religion instead. And this is what the initiation actually helps us to reorientate ourselves, to get back on track, really, of where we really should be. So, you know, we are taught that to get somewhere, you know, in initiation, that we have to have a goal. We have to need a master. And as I say, if you don't have a master, you've got no direction. We're no different to the mosquito, really, whichever direction the wind blows, this is where we're going to end up. And this is where the system has taken us, really, because we don't know who we are. They've become our master, and they've become our guidance, really, you know. And so that's the problem. This is where we're at now, you know. Yeah, so, you know, what initiation actually do for us, it actually gives us the tool we need to face life, you know, for you to know yourself and to learn the true values about life. This is one of the benefit of what initiation is, you know. So we all need direction, no matter which organization or where you go. There is guidelines, there is rules, and so initiation, it has all those things to help you to, to navigate yourself through life. Because, you know, life can be challenging, but, it's that struggle, because life itself is a struggle, So when we meet those challenges, really, it's just a part of life. We've just got to accept it. And once you've got the tools really to assist you, then, yeah, it's going to be challenging every day, but as I say, nothing tried, nothing gained. And that's what it is. You just got to keep on, keeping on, you know. I was listening to something the other day on the YouTube, and I heard someone said like that no one knows what happens after death, and that there is nothing after death. Well, when someone make a statement like that, yeah, what it's actually doing really is making people not trying to take responsibility, because if you just live once and there's no consequences, then it's open territory really, that you could do whatever you want. And basically this is what's happening, so yeah, it doesn't give us that sense of that we should be taking responsibility and actions, so really there's no accountability, and hence why we have that word chaos. But in initiation, we know that from chaos, or that order can still come from chaos. So there is still ways, or there's still hope for us really to change, So, yeah. So, and what's happening, that the system basically uses really to help to distract us really. And we can see it happening now, where we have this, what they call it, like information overload. You're just getting too much that you can't basically process it. And it's like if you tell someone a lie continuously, right, over and over and over, repetitively, yeah, he'll start believing in that lie, really, yeah. And this is what they do. This is what they've done. And we're just bombarded with misinformation. And that is really, really, really dangerous and very misleading, and it does create and cause a lot of confusion out there and frustration, really, especially like for people really who are trying to seek and to find to get somewhere. It is, we have to be mindful. We have to be mindful, really, like of what we click onto and accept, as being the truth. And being online, like we can see nowadays we're more or less forced to go online. Everything is, people are working from home now, and if you're not computer savvy, and this is where a lot of people are going to struggle, especially like the elderly people really, who probably not might be computer literate like myself. This is where the system takes advantage, because then they're not able to access certain things, because no longer they have someone that they can ask questions to, that you can have that human interaction with. It's an automated service now, really, and oftentimes you can't get through. So they're just left alone there to waste away, So it's good to have that community, that neighborhood, that people can look out for each other. This is what we have to kind of start doing, looking out for each other, Yeah, because it is important really that there's a cycle that we all go through. And if we're, I wouldn't say lucky, but if we live to that age where we need to be assisted, then it's good to know really, right, that someone is there to help you, really, you know, especially at that time in your life. They say once a man, twice a child. Not many people probably live to see to get to that or to go through that fulfillment there. But if you're able to, then yeah, there is times where you're going to need a little bit of support. So you just think about it, though. Yeah, the concept of nothing. This is what the system feed into us, that nothing, there is nothing after life, there's after death. But we know that there is no such thing as nothing. Yeah. Because we know that the principle that our ancestral godfather took, Wasa took, from Master Naba, he understood that what actually existed after death and the cycle, because it's a process, and he was able to educate us, for us to understand really, right, that it is a cycle. So there is that cycle of life to death, and from death back to life. So there is something that exists after that. And on that note, I'm gonna just give you this little tune here, just to Yeah, concrete jungle. This is where we're living in. Concrete jungle. Envious of all those in the bush, close to nature. Yeah. I just want to read just give you a couple of numbers before we proceed with the show, yeah? There is the Earth Center, they got like Waiawali energy Earth readings. That's on the 4th to the 5th of December, and that's done through the Ancaster branch of the Earth Center. And for that, you can access it's the UK Ancaster, so it's UKANKHKASTA at theearthcenter.org. You can access it that way, or you can contact them like 0208 558 3678. Yeah, so if anyone would like to know what's going on in their life, the readings what they do, they actually can go from the past, present, and the future. So this is where this was one of the things that Master Naba was a master in, Umtam science. This is where they read the earth energy and they access what is there, for you. And also there's another, there's a children education project fundraising. This is to help children who, just need to be educated basically. And so it's a fundraising to help those children in Merita. And if you would like to assist in helping, you can also contact them on the www.theearthcenter.org project Merita project / Merita -project. So I'll read that again. It's www.theearthcenter, center spelled TER.org /project /Merita -project. And so there you can, if you want to help, you can, or you can actually go as well, right, on the Earth Center, www.theearthcenter.org. And from there you can navigate yourself through really, right, and because this is an international thing, so wherever you are, access the www.theearthcenter.org. From there, depending on where you are, you can link up really, right, to help, to assist there. Our proverb for this week here really is a tree can't see its own root. And so, therefore, we all need someone else in our life to help to assist us. Yeah. We're just gonna skip back and we're gonna
sun will shine in my day to day. No sun will shine. The high yellow moon won't come out to play. I said, darkness has covered my life and has changed my day into night.
Ujai? 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 Ujai, actually, can you hear me?
her baby,
Ujai? Ujai? Oh, man. Ujai? Sorry, we're just having a little bit of difficulty. I couldn't get through with this.
Yeah, I could hear you, but you couldn't hear me. Yeah, can you hear me? Ujai, can you hear me?
Hi.
Ujai.
All right, that's good. Yeah. All right then.
All right. You can hear me okay?
Yeah, we're just trying to level out the volume.
He can't hear you.
Okay, cool.
It's not turned up.
Was it? You can. Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah. Okay then. You can hear us properly?
Yes.
All right, that's good.
Can you hear me properly?
You sound
Yeah.
good.
It sounds really clear. Let's hope that it stays that
Good.
way.
You sound like you're in the studio.
That's what it should sound like. You've made a lot of improvement.
Great.
Yeah, you sound, that's this thing here that does that.
Yeah. All right then. Do well for that. Yeah. Thanks.
Right, cool.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah. So we just want to well, this is not a stranger to the show. We oftentimes read articles and things from the Firefly magazine there, and this our guest there really is one of the main contributor to some of these articles that people read. That's find so endearing and educational, and he's from Manu, which we call America, and we just want to kind of introduce KASABEZ MAAKMAAH. And he'll probably, when he comes on, he's going to tell us a little bit about himself, although he's familiar to some, but he might not be some to others. So, welcome, KASABEZ, to the Wisdom of the Nile show. You want to...
Ujai.
Ujai.
Thank you. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
So,
Yeah, it's good to be back on the show.
yeah, it's nice to have you on the show, man. It's good. I know that you're going to bring the listeners really a lot of useful kind of knowledge, really, because you've been in initiation for many years now, really. You know, you're a seasoned, as they would say, initiate attorney. So you have a lot really to kind of to share with people out there, and I'm sure they'll appreciate, you know, your contribution. As
Well,
you
it's
know,
funny to hear people say that because I still always feel like I have a lot to learn. And
oh,
just at this stage in my journey, I'm I'm approaching the point where maybe soon in a couple of years I can say maybe half my life I've been an initiate and half my life I've been, you know, still under the influence just solely of this modern machine. So I'm still trying to work my way out of where everybody else is at.
It sounds all right.
It's an ongoing process, and I'm nowhere near finished.
well, you know, as they say, the journey doesn't finish until your life or this part of your life journey finish. So it's an ongoing process, isn't it? Really, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So, but still, in saying that, you've still got a lot to offer people out there as well.
Well, I'll do my best.
Yeah. I mean, to today's program, really, I've just really, what inspired me was what I see what's going on out there, the way that the system and everything is coming down on people, and just the mental problems and things that people are facing out there now, and it's a global thing.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
it just brought me onto this topic here of anger and frustration. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, I don't know what justice you're going to do to it, but really, when we look at how easily we get frustrated in our lives, really, it's one of those normal things, really, a part of life, really, isn't it? Or we take it as a normal thing, really, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's more than normal. I mean, I could say, yeah, anger is a normal human emotion. I would be, maybe fantasizing to say that a human being could be expected not to get angry. Um, but the part that we have a problem with today is that it's more than become like normal. It's more like um, even seen as a virtue nowadays. For example, you know, if you're considering yourself maybe liberal in the United States or left wing or Democrat, you are supposed to be mad at Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to be. If you get wind of another police officer shooting an unarmed black person, you are supposed to get angry about that.
Mm-hmm.
If you find out about, you know, you know what our hot topic issues are. Something may be going on with the environment, pollution, global warming, these type of things. Uh, I mean, look at what's going on with COVID-19 and how much people are being frustrated by the circumstances seemingly out of control in their lives. And it's regardless of whether you blame the politicians, political policies for not stopping the spread fast enough, or maybe you blame the hospital system, or maybe you blame the media industry for manipulating the public or whatever. It's very easy to get angry about what's going on in the world and the fact that our lives have been disrupted. It's almost like you know we're supposed to be upset, and it's a manufactured response by our media system,
Mm-hmm.
by our political system, by our whatever you might call the leadership, or the ones basically setting the pace for everybody to follow, or the direction everyone follows in the United States, in places like the UK, Europe, and all these other countries. Whether they know it or not, there's people who are pulling the strings on how they want us to react, us being like the public in general,
Yeah.
to react.
Mm-hmm.
And so getting us in this angry and frustrated type of reactionary mode, and then giving us ultimately, or let's say invariably, giving us some outlet where that anger can be vented, that anger can be directed towards some individual or group of people, or ideological, um, political, or religious organization or ideology or what have you. There's always some target that we're directed towards in our anger. So this political manipulation of the very natural human tendency to get angry and frustrated for different reasons
Mm-hmm.
is taken advantage of by our modern leadership, or elites, or whatever you might want to call them, oligarchs, whatever word you want to put there. Uh, whether we think we know who these people are or not, there's people who sit in rooms and what they call think tanks and things like this, and try to figure out how they're going to manipulate the public towards their interests
Yeah.
today, tomorrow, and ongoing. They have plans spanned out, the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years for how they're going to roll out their plans, and they rely on us being in a reactionary emotional state in order to do so.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, it's the first to understand that the way that we've been kind of conditioned into reacting to whatever kind of stimulus that they want to introduce is is part of their plan and it's part of their manipulation, and it has nothing to do with anything that could benefit us in any way.
So you say we're played into their hands
Once
then?
exactly, and once we can recognize that, um, we should be a little more questioning of ourselves and however we're reacting. We should question that more. Um, that I would say, regardless of what you believe, regardless of what side you think you're on, regardless of where you think you stand ideologically, culturally, philosophically, spiritually, or whatever, um, that should be something that anyone can see. Unless you're one of these elites who somehow listening in to what I'm saying right now. If you don't consider yourself in that class of people, and you will know if you're in that group, then you're part of the ones being manipulated, being pulled by the nose.
Mm-hmm.
And in that case, it's worth questioning the way that you're reacting to everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Now, if we can go a step further, because this is a show that's focused on the Kmetic spiritual paradigm.
Mm-hmm.
We know we have 77 commandments.
Yeah. Our
And one of those commandments is thou shalt not get angry.
yeah.
Now, so if thou shalt not get angry, now we know, no one should be under any illusions that it's an easy thing to just say, oh, I'm going to follow this commandment, and then you just follow it and that's it. No, everything's happened in our lives, and there's always something that's going to come and ruffle our feathers and, get us a little upset.
Mm-hmm.
But if we know that thou shalt not get angry is a commandment, that means that the onus is on us that whenever we sense that those emotions are rising within us,
Mm-hmm.
then our responsibility is to question ourselves why,
Yeah.
and
Definitely.
find out what can I do about this feeling that I'm having so that I can stop it
Yeah.
in myself before I end up reacting out of this emotion and doing something that will be harmful to somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
or will be detrimental to my own history that I'm trying to write for myself. Because ultimately, that's what we're all here to do. We're trying to, you spoke about it earlier about this idea of being accountable for our actions. This idea that after we die, we have our spirit continues to go to proceed on a spiritual journey, which will take us into a whole set of other topics. But suffices to say that whatever we do in this life, our actions follow us after this life is over.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even have to look after this life to know that our actions follow us just in this life. And how many times do we act out of an emotional impulse, out of an emotional state, and then end up doing something we regret, doing
Definitely.
something that's harmful to somebody, doing something that even if we somehow maybe justify it, if we look, we see the destruction, the destructive consequences of our actions. You see, and to know those actions don't end just because even if we pass away, uh, or even if the person forgives us, even if they forget about it, those actions follow us, even past the door of death into the next phase of a human reality. So there's no, seeing the large consequences like that, then to say, oh, just because our people down at Black Lives Matter say we should be angry just because somebody says White Lives Matter,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's not worth it.
Yeah.
You see.
So would you say then? I mean, you mentioned like say the commandment, thou shalt not get angry. Yeah. And
Hmm.
we see like from a very young age, we see like, you know, you have children there really, so sometimes you see the challenges really like from a young child trying to achieve something, to do something, even just trying to stand up. Sometimes it could be like a frustration there, isn't it? Like where you're not meeting your end goal, so you feel blocked. Um, so that anger and frustration, I mean, they're kind of close together. They kind of connected, really, isn't it? Anger and frustration. The question I want to say, ask you now, is that if this one of the anger is one of the commandment, does it then mean really right that we have the ability then to control the anger? Because if that's not like a natural part, because that commandment wouldn't have been placed there if there wasn't something as human that we could do actually to refrain from being angry.
Absolutely, there'd be no logical sense in having a commandment to say, thou shalt not breathe or thou shalt not, eat.
Mm,
You know what I mean?
mm,
There's nothing. There's things that are beyond our control. We can't stop our own heart from breathing, from beating. Um, it would make no sense to have a commandment for something that we have no control over. But you mentioned frustration. I wanted to even go further than that. There are, some human emotions that even on the spiritual level, they translate to the same thing as anger. So those would include things like worry and anxiety.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and those things really, all of those things translate to anger. Now, that's kind of interesting because normally we wouldn't relate those as being the same. Maybe we could say where they're related,
Mm-hmm.
but to say they're the same, it's something that ordinarily we wouldn't, come to that conclusion. Even to say anger, I'm just, how people kind of like to mess with words, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and if someone says, oh, you need to calm down, I see you're angry. You'll say, no, I'm just a little bit frustrated. No, I'm a little bit, I'm just a little upset. I'm not angry.
It's still the
You
same
know,
thing.
you try to find, you try to find a different word to
Yeah,
explain to make it seem like
you're more mellowed.
a word to not to somehow deny what's going on, you
Yeah,
know, or to make it or what's the word?
acceptable.
Make it acceptable, make or to make it seem like smaller than what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then by doing that is basically to say like it's okay to justify it,
Mm,
like you're saying, make it acceptable. But really, what you're doing is you're not changing the concept, you're not changing what's happening, you just change the word you put there.
mm,
And then by changing the word you put there, you think you did something. uh and I always laugh at people who do that with words like trying to sound conscious. They'll use a word like overstand instead of understand and think that they're doing something different.
yeah,
It's not different, it's the same concept that
yeah.
you're bringing. So maybe if you change the way you mean what you say, when you say understand what that means to you, even when you're trying to do it, that would make more sense. But to to get back to anger and kind of the different manifestations of it, we have these issues like worry, anxiety, frustration, like you're saying, feeling blocked, feeling like whatever you're trying to achieve, something's stopping you, or you're
Mm,
having these difficulties doing it. Um, you can see where all of those issues will lead you to become angry.
mm-hmm.
But even in feeling like, you know, if we just have to say today's environment, in the United States, we have this fiasco going on about the election. You can say there's a lot of people worried about the outcome. A lot
Yeah.
of people, very emotional about the outcome on both sides. Whether you're saying, you're a Republican, you feel like the election's being stolen from you, whether you're a Democrat and you're afraid that some of these, crazy people will be running around in the streets with guns because they think the election's been stolen from them. There's a lot of worry and anxiety going on. Add that to the climate of the whole COVID situation, and you really couldn't have written a better script for an apocalyptic movie. You know, um, well, again, can we say that this was not by design somehow?
Well, it is by design.
Well, yeah.
If you,
I mean,
if you're a blind
we
man,
can.
really, even a blind man
I
could see.
think it's easy for us to say that, right? But there's a lot of people out here who are not putting two and two together,
Yeah, that's true.
and are not really seeing it as clearly as what it is. And so I think it's important that we don't skip steps in how we try to explain um, what's really happening, because even while it might be a no-brainer for you, then we can still end up not being able to relate to people who aren't exposed to the same um, history that we've studied, the same, kind of the history that will show us that all these things that are happening now has been done and tried before
Yeah, it's been
in different
designed.
ways. And so we can see the pattern, and so that's why it's not hard to see for us. But for someone who hasn't really invested themselves in trying to understand, the global politics and the modern political agendas that are being pushed, it'll be harder to make that connection. So, again, if you take the fact that um it's now December, since March, so that's like 9 months.
Yeah.
We have mid-March was the lockdown, but people were already, I think, in early March panicking about the situation, the potential of it, and so on. We've been having these various lockdowns. World Health Organization says, it's a global health emergency and a pandemic. Um, People start shutting down airports, shutting down businesses, shutting down schools, shutting down public places, and so on. Now, 9 months of this, and the way people have been conditioned to react, to be emotional really about everything. Can you imagine having 9 months of just pent up anger,
Well, I mean,
pent up worry, pent up frustration, pent up, anxiety about the situation that's outside of your control?
so are you going to
And
are you going to
not
talk about mental health issues now?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's when we talk about anger, all of that plays into mental health. I mean, even to say anxiety is part of it, anxiety is a huge issue that the mental health field has not been able to solve. So, so yeah, it's definitely that's all part of it. Mental health is about really understanding reality and trying to be connected with it. Or if we somehow trying to be in denial about the reality, then that's where mental health problems start. That's where depression starts.
And the
So
depression.
if you have a reality that you're not trying to accept because someone your whole life told you have rights, all of a sudden you realize you don't, and you just want this pandemic to be over. Give me a vaccine so we can get back to normal. Uh, so I can have my rights back, or uh, you know, so I don't have to feel like I'm in fear or under threat of this deadly disease, um, or because whatever my job is, maybe my job relies me to interact a lot with the public. I can't even do my job. There's no work for me now, and then what am I supposed to do? Sometimes a person can get stuck in the fact that, hey, this is what I do. I can't do anything else. And then they don't adapt to the fact that their circumstances have changed.
So that's where the frustration and everything builds up now, isn't it? Because they're looking at their families and the needs of the family, and if they can't provide for that, then that frustration would lead to the anger and violence, really. I'm
Uh-huh.
sure, like
Uh,
say where you are, probably you can see like the crime rate. Have you seen like an increase there really since this pandemic thing started?
crime, yeah, crime has gone up for sure. Crime, murder, all that. You know, we already have had those issues in America, but suicides, depression, even just alcohol sales
Yeah.
are through the roof.
Mhm.
So at the same time where money, people aren't making money, but the money that people have, they're spending on booze. Uh, there's it's easy to get into kind of a hopeless type of attitude
Mhm.
when you think things just aren't going your way. And that's why, to have a worldview that's not solely based on the material aspect of things, um, it's just very important to see the bigger picture than how much money you have, uh, you know, and some of the other, maybe the fun that you want to have by going, doing this and doing that. The amusement parks are closed, or even now, just last week, we had Thanksgiving here. Do you guys have Thanksgiving in UK?
Uh,
You guys, is
no,
that a
I
thing?
think it's not the same as what you have there. No. Well,
Okay, well,
if we do,
because
I
it's
don't
all tied
celebrate it.
to it's all tied to the genocide of the Native Americans and us being thankful that we can have this great
Yeah.
land for ourselves because we killed them. So yeah, that's not really a thing over there so much, but the Thanksgiving holiday is like a huge tradition in the United States where that really, regardless of its background, what it really means for a lot of families in the United States is people coming together and sharing time with their families. People coming from out of town, um, sometimes, and or getting together with people who you don't see maybe as often as you would like. You get to spend time with each other, talk about what's going on,
Mhm.
check in with your family, things like this. Uh, a lot of people didn't get to do that this year, and so even that is another frustrating aspect for people.
Mm.
And when your life is based around not only the materialism of earthly possessions, but even the material experiences of the things that you do, that you enjoy, even down to just missing the fact that you love Thanksgiving dinner and you didn't get to have it this year. You
Yeah.
didn't get to have your turkey and all this stuff. All these things add up, and you end up with the person, unfortunately, who is just destabilized in so many different ways.
Mm. Yeah. Like with anger and that frustration, how would you say, like in initiation, really? I mean, they give us certain tools, really, of like how we can help to control that. What's your take? I mean, you're gonna share like some of the ways that people can actually use to, to help.
Well, uh, one of the things there's really several things. Um, I'll try to I'll try to give something that can be helpful. Um, for one thing, we have this idea in like African culture, traditional culture, of not keeping things in your stomach, or I guess in the West we would say something more like, when you have something on your chest, you have to get something off your chest.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which is basically to say that something is bothering you, and when something is bothering you, it's good to talk about it. Um, you might talk about it, if you're going to talk about it, it's good to somehow, in a way, talk about it with the person who's really, maybe the problem, like the person who you're mad at. You want to talk to that person. But the problem we have here is just based on the lack of self control people have, that going to somebody to talk about the problem sometimes can lead to a bigger problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's not always the easy solution. But if you can find a way to talk to the person about what's going on, or even if it's not talking to the person, you could talk to somebody else about what's bothering you. Sometimes that can help too.
So you're making
But
reference to like counseling, that kind of thing, or just like just a friend or someone like that that you can share with.
yeah, but then, where that becomes problematic sometimes is when it turns into gossip, and when it turns into just, the person who really you're blaming for your anger, or the person that you're mad at is not there, but you and some other person or group of people are just sitting around bad mouthing that person.
Mm.
Um, that's not really positive either. So,
So would
so the thing is that whatever when you're talking about what you're upset about, it should be based on a solution. Like,
mm-hmm.
what is the solution coming out? How maybe you can maybe change your perspective to resolve the issue within yourself.
But it does
How
start
you,
from self, though, doesn't it?
yeah. Well, of course, you're angry. The anger is in you.
That's right. Yeah.
Uh, I mean, I, I, I like to think I don't have to say this, but maybe I do. A lot of times people say, "Oh, so and so made me angry." If you say someone made you angry, it's taking the idea that you're in control of yourself out.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
It's taking the responsibility of your own emotional state out. Now, sometimes it's almost like people want to feel entitled to their feelings, validate their feelings. Nowadays, you want to validate your feelings, or how you feel
Mm-hmm.
is even more important than what you think sometimes in today's society, or even a lot of times more important. So when we validate what we feel and we say, "Oh, that's how I feel," and just say that something is legitimate because you feel that way, then that becomes like a victim mentality, to be honest, because then it's like whatever you feel is just based on whatever is happening around you. And if your surroundings are what you are allowing to and giving credit for controlling your emotional state and how you feel at any given time, that's just a powerless position.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to say, hey, it's not the other person's fault because that I'm angry,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm the one ultimately in control of myself.
That's right. Yeah.
That's empowering, actually. And that's, unfortunately, I don't know why, but unfortunately people don't seem to see it that way, but that's empowering, because by taking responsibility, that means you are the only one who's in control of how you feel,
That's true.
and you don't have to feel any type of way that you decide not to.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say, "Oh, so and so made me angry," again, you're giving the power to that person, whether it's Donald Trump, or whether it's your spouse or your child or your parent or your
Yeah.
sibling or
Yeah.
your boss. You're giving the power to that person.
Because if you don't open the door, it can't come in, really, can it?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that in a lot of these cases, the door is open because it's a person that you know, it's a person you care about, it's a person that you're close to. It might be something that the person is doing that's harmful to their self, and you're trying to help them stop, and they don't want to listen.
Mm-hmm.
You just watching them. If you just take a example of health, if you have a relative, I'm sure many of us have relatives who eat horribly.
Yeah.
You can see that it's taking a toll on their health. And yet, when you suggest to them that they should take responsibility for their health and change their lifestyle, they don't.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see their health continue to decline, and then they're on pharmaceuticals, and they're going to the hospital, then they're being diagnosed with diseases, and so on and so on and so on and so on and so on. And it's hard to watch.
And they get frustrated with themselves because they can't do what they see, what would say normal, in quote, people are
Right.
doing. Like
Yeah,
they
they
become
can't
so
do
obese. Yeah.
things exactly, but you as the person who's watching them,
Yeah.
and maybe, and the fact that maybe you feel kind of powerless because whatever you've tried to do to influence them to make better decisions,
Mm-hmm.
they're still making the same decisions, and that's frustrating. That's you can be upset about that. You can be worried about that person,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and you can't just say, well, you opened the door for them to make you upset because it's a family member, it's a close friend, it's someone you care about. You want to see them healthy. You want to see them doing good. And that's where it's not easy. It's
Mm.
just not easy because, you know, when you care or you feel like you care or you've had this attachment to, you want this person around, or maybe you want to be able to do things together, or maybe even the person being unhealthy is causing you problems because you have to do things to help them that you might not ordinarily have to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Whatever the case may be, it's hard, when something is affecting you personally, not to be affected emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not as easy as saying, oh, thou shalt not get angry, so I'm not going to be angry about this. Those emotions come, and then it's like
But
how to
sometimes it
control
impacts
yourself.
on you more, though, doesn't it? Because you're feeling and you feel helpless in it, so you kind of it impacts on you, the person who is caring for that person, more than the person who's actually doing it to themselves. You know.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it's affecting them too. It affects the person, but the other person might not see how it's affecting other people who care about them, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe they just, for whatever reason, again, having self control is a is something that you have to work up to.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that you just can decide on and then you have it. It's something it takes training, it takes building the habits
Discipline.
to discipline.
And this is some of the things that we're taught, like in initiation, where we have to have that emotional control and discipline, and
Uh-huh.
having the guidance as well, because this is where, they say if we don't have a master, then the system becomes a master for you. So, like in the initiation, we're kind of giving those kind of support and guidelines to know that without that goal, that direction, then this is where people are just ending up anywhere, really, isn't it?
I mean, to be honest, if we have to open the door on initiation and what all the things that initiation teaches that
Mm,
could be useful here, I mean, we'll never end this conversation.
mm,
Uh, it's but yeah, being disciplined definitely requires you to have someone to show you the habits that you're trying to build for your
mm-hmm,
discipline. You don't just have discipline without anyone to show you what to do and what not to do.
mm-hmm,
Uh, I mean, that should be simple and logical enough. And if it's not clear for anyone, you think you decided all that by yourself. We have a very clear, thing that we tell all the students in initiation the first day they come in, or if it's not the first day, it's the second day. It's that the human brain does not invent
yeah,
everything that you think you got it from somewhere.
mm-hmm,
Any thought that you're having, anything you can imagine, You can imagine it because it's based on something you've been exposed to before.
So in saying that,
So
then, yeah, would you say then that that anger could be hereditary then?
anger could be what?
Hereditary.
Uh, you know, I mean, a hand and a foot is hereditary. It's some things that is just part of a human being. So, and emotions are part of a human being. We all have it. You know that's something like, do you have a soul? Do you have a spirit? Do you have a heart? You know, do you have emotions? Yes, you have all these things. Um, but then, when it comes to this notion that the human brain doesn't invent, now you'll notice that from person to person, we don't all have the same emotional triggers. Something that something that could piss you off wouldn't might not bother me,
Yeah.
and vice versa. I'll tell you one thing about me: I hate cigarettes. Anytime I'm around them, I just want to run. Uh, and I'm not someone who really gets excited about laws and restrictive laws and stuff, but when they said you can no longer smoke in restaurants and bars in the United States, I was so happy. But that's me. That's, my
Yeah.
upbringing, I grew up around smokers and I hated it.
Yeah.
So that's a trigger for me a lot of people might not have. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, if so the things that trigger our emotions, the things that trigger our emotional responses are anger and so on, since we're talking about anger. Um, it's going to vary from person to person, and yes, by and large, it's going to be based on what we've been exposed to, what our environments have conditioned us to react. Again, like for example, the word nigger. If you feel like if a white person says that to you, you are supposed to get angry and want to fight with that person. That's like and I don't know if it's maybe as bad in the UK as it is here in the United States because of the whole slavery issue. But all of that is like very, like all of that for some people it might sound like, hey, that was a long time ago, but we know that it wasn't a long time ago. And we know that all those circumstances are still haunting us. And so, yeah, it's a touchy issue. But the fact is that the anger about that word is a conditioned response.
Well, I mean, in America though, they seem to normalize the word nigger though. Really, if you're talking about like
No,
people getting,
no,
it seemed to, because in the
no,
music in
I'm
that
saying
kind.
if a white person calls you a nigger with the R, that's different. And if you don't know, yes, now you should know. If in the United States, that's what you call fighting words. That's what you call, asking for it. You know, you instantly have started a problem by saying that. And depending on the person, if they're going to want to fight you physically or if they just never want to talk to you again, that will be, kind of up to them. But the key aspect that I'm trying to point at here is that black people in the U.S. were supposed to people can do that can trigger your emotions, right? Now, if you're trying to make sure to stay calm, um, what can you do? First of all, my what I was saying before is that it has to be habitual. You can't just say, you're going to allow yourself to be angry about some things and then turn around and say, I don't want to be angry about this, and then think that you're not going to be angry because the same lack of self-control is going to apply to the situation. Now, if every time you get angry or every time you notice yourself getting angry, you question yourself, you say, why am I feeling like this? Let me try to calm myself down. Then that becomes easier the more that you do it. Just like any type of exercise you might do, just like any type of habit that you might have.
Mm-hmm.
So in the moment, you might, when we get angry, here's one thing. You ever notice that you have a physical reaction to getting angry?
Yeah.
You might tense up. Your heart might start beating faster, depending on how intense the situation is.
Mm-hmm.
You notice if you start to notice, like first noticing and being honest enough with yourself to say, okay, I am angry right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first step. You can't
Awareness.
solve any
There's
there
that
you can't
awareness.
yeah, awareness and acceptance, because
Mm.
there's no solving a problem that you don't acknowledge
Yeah.
that you have,
Yeah.
or that you don't acknowledge exists. You first have to acknowledge the problem.
Mm.
Yes, I'm angry. No, I shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then from there, okay, you have to notice, maybe you're noticing that you're taking shallow breaths. Try to take some deep breaths. Try to center yourself mentally and focus
Mm-hmm.
and say, really, what's the problem here? Like, what is really wrong with the situation that I'm reacting like this? And understanding, like, okay, if I'm feeling this way, me feeling this way is not the solution to my problem.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so what is it that's bothering you? Sometimes it will be a person who is doing something. They might not realize that they're doing something wrong. They
Yeah.
might not think they're doing something wrong. Maybe they were disrespectful. Maybe they were careless or thoughtless about what they were doing. Whatever the issue is, why is this something I need to be angry about?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because if you can get over your anger and say, okay, the person did the person do something wrong or no?
Is it sometimes though
And
the lack of patience though, really, that people don't have that patience there to just stop and just process things? We just jump into things before, like we react before we think.
well, yeah, and I think last time I was on the show, the topic was impatience,
Okay.
and the thing about impatience though is in one of Makru or Master Naba's stories that he wrote in Initiatic Tales, he was talking about how impatience is really the it's like, what was it, when the modern religious systems were creating their, like, commandments and uh whatever their doctrines, um of course the traditional world, is watching and seeing what they're going to do,
Mm-hmm.
and probably joking about it. But they were surprised to see that among their commandments, impatience wasn't mentioned as a sin.
Mm.
And the the fact that it wasn't listed as a sin, they were surprised because impatience is just like it's like a catalyst for all other types of emotions.
It is really, isn't it?
Yeah, because when you get impatient about something that's happening, then obviously you can get angry from there. And the
That.
funny part is, most of the time when we notice we're impatient, we're already angry by that time.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, it's hard to notice that we're impatient until the outward signs of anger and frustration, anxiety, and
Mm.
all of these different emotions pop up. So the impatience, yeah, it's a huge factor in that. And and if you don't have the patience, it will be very difficult to try to gain some self control over yourself. Self control, to gain some self control when it's time to really question your own emotional state. Because face it, it's just much easier to accept how you feel and try to come up with the explanation for it or a justification for it instead of questioning yourself and trying to like really figure out what's bothering you and why and what you can do about it.
So it's just having
It's
that time
even
though to kind of
the easiest thing is just to be in denial about it altogether. Like I'm saying, I'm not angry.
or
I'm
blaming the
just a
other
little,
person.
yeah, or blame the other person. It's their fault I'm angry. That's what we talk about, in initiation. We're very, very consistent about this idea that corruption goes downhill. That's one of our very, Master Naba's one of his favorite sayings. Corruption he said, always goes downhill. So
Fast.
which is to say, the path that's easier, because it's much easier to go down than to go up. The path that's easier is the path to corruption. It's the path, and by corruption, it's all the things that will lead a human being away from our goal of enlightenment and perfecting the self. So self control is one of the key factors in being able to do that and evolve as a human being.
I mean, sometimes though, when we see, you were talking about, say, the awareness and recognizing that you are angry or you're getting angry, and as you say, you've got to start to get to know yourself, because that's the first stage, really, just knowing yourself. What is it that makes me upset? What is it that gets me to that stage that I don't really need to be? And being able to kind of have that discipline then, or that control, where just sometimes just taking a deep breath, because you was talking about the stress and all that anxiety and everything building up inside of you, and consequently that can lead to the heart attack and all that tension there. So just being able to come sometimes, just to, when you recognize those things is coming on, just to take these, like in the Katibi, we learned like the meditation there, like just to calm ourselves, and
Mm-hmm.
just taking
Yeah,
these
take a
deep.
deep breath. Try to
Mm,
relax your muscles if they're tight. Um, that'll get you to where maybe you can slow yourself down and actually start thinking. That's not what's going to actually release the anger from inside of you, but at least it can get you to maybe a little bit more rational place.
yeah, yeah. Because it's important what you just said there about the being constricted in your body, and that tension there, because it's like a poison. That anger actually triggers off a poison within your body, isn't it? You're poisoning yourself at that stage. You know.
I mean, you can feel it. You can literally feel it in your
Yeah.
chest. And even after, I've noticed times when I've been angry about something, and I'll get this feeling in my chest. And even after I calm down, that feeling is still there. And it's like almost like something hit me, it's like, or let's say, someone has you in a what is it, like a bear hug or something like that.
Squeezing the
They're
life out of you.
and they're squeezing you,
Yeah.
and it hurts, but then eventually they let you go, but you're still going to be hurting. It's like something actually injured you, in a way. So yeah, it's interesting. Just how much it affects us, and I think it's something that's really not recognized now. In the modern world, obviously, we talked about earlier the agenda of why this and how this system benefits by keeping us emotionally unstable. So naturally, that's not something that people are going to be taught.
Mm.
But if you if you start to recognize it, if you start to recognize just the how impactful, how destructive the anger is in our lives,
Mm.
that's a huge step forward. Now, once you now then the other aspect is the honesty to admit that's what's happening.
Yeah.
You have to be honest with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned patience. Honesty will require patience. A lot of times people think of honesty like it's the same thing as telling the truth.
Mm.
Um, Anytime if I'm initiating a group of students, that is a very, very important question that I ask people is what is honesty? And this is always the answer. Like it's telling the truth. It's not the same thing. We
Mm.
have a commandment, thou shalt not lie, and then we have a commandment, thou shalt not act dishonestly. Now, what is a dishonest act? You
Mm.
see, or what is acting dishonestly? Because it's different than just whatever you say,
Mm-hmm.
whatever comes out of your mouth. Being honest with yourself in this context, we're talking about anger. You have to be honest with yourself that you're actually angry,
Mm-hmm.
because it's very easy to lie to yourself. It's very easy to explain things to yourself. It's very easy to be feeling one way at one time and then a couple minutes later be imagining how you felt, and it's not even the same feeling.
It's just eating away at yourself, really, isn't it? If you're in denial of it.
Being in denial, uh, you're disconnecting yourself from reality in your
Mm-hmm.
own mind. Now, being disconnected from reality again, if you're not functioning based on reality, you're functioning based on your own imagination, your own desires, your own illusions.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're functioning based on illusions, then what happens when reality kicks in and you can no longer avoid it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, all these so-called democratic leaders have always been trying to sell us this idea that we're free, we're free, we're free, we live in a democracy, we have, rights and all this. And then something happens, and then, oh, let's say, you get pulled over by the police. Oh, I have rights. No, you don't.
Well, you have, but you
And
don't have to exercise it.
but reality, if reality doesn't kick in for you to make you feel like, you know what, I just need to try to be nice to this police officer so they'll hopefully let me go.
Yeah.
And you instead you decide, oh, I have rights. You have no right to pull me over. What's the reason? And you start interrogating the person like you're the one with the gun. No, you don't. You don't have rights. You are in a vulnerable situation. You think a rabbit trying to run from a fox is thinking about his rights? You see? So if do you
Yeah.
think the rabbit trying to run for his life and get into his hole before the fox eats him, do you think he's angry at the fox? That's that's just the rabbit's reality. The rabbit has no reason to be angry at the fox. The rabbit's reality ever since it's born is knowing
Mm.
that it is food for other species of animals.
Yeah.
And so it just needs to survive. That's the concern of the rabbit. If the rabbit got into some political ideologies thinking that they have rights, that doesn't give the rabbit teeth or claws to fight back against the fox. The fox will always win.
Yeah, but that's the law of nature that you're speaking about there, though, right? But if you're gonna bring it back to say a police stopping someone, no, that you can't really say that's a natural part of nature, though, really.
Well, 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 you
to
know,
say that, because it's like I saying,
different.
it's a
Different.
survival mode, but it shouldn't be something that
It's
we accept though. Really, to say, well, okay, that's you know it's going to happen because that's what society is pushing out there. But why should we accept that though as being the norm, and the way that we
now,
should be?
yes, absolutely, absolutely right. Now, I'm not saying that it's okay.
Mm,
You know, we're human beings and we can decide how to conduct ourselves. You know, one person doesn't automatically have the right to control some other group of people.
mm,
But it's just the fact of the matter that right now, this police officer has put his lights on and he's driving behind me. That means only one thing. I don't know about in Europe,
yeah, it's the same
but the
thing.
United
It's the
but the
same-
United States, you pull over and you stop and you say, "What's going on?"
yeah.
You know, and hopefully he'll let you go without giving you a ticket. And
Mm,
hopefully, you know, he won't see you as some sort of a threat or some sort of a suspect. I haven't had that problem personally, but at least, you know, I've on some occasions gotten tickets and I've been mad about it and been in
mm,
denial about it, and I haven't paid the ticket, and then I had further consequences. You see? And that really, you know, was educational for me because I didn't, you know, I had to adjust my perspective. What the reality is what you have to deal with. This is the reality you're faced with right now. Now, if the reality isn't acceptable to you, you feel like it should change, then what are the practical steps you can do to change it? Right now, the situation of me being confronted by the police is not the time that I'm going to change the situation of how police have, you know, how we're in a police state. That's not what's going to change it.
mm,
Me getting myself in trouble or maybe even, you know, shot or arrested or whatever is
mm.
not going to change what's going on. You know, and I think that's where people get into, again, illusions about reality and how it can become that, and that's how it can become dangerous, you know, the illusion aspect,
But you
being
can see that.
disconnected from reality aspect. So that's all of that starts where I was going with that is that all of that comes from um, the honesty with the self. You know, being honest with the self is primary and is primary importance.
Mm,
So, you know, I gave the police aspect as one example. You know, uh, the police are tied in with the whole system. That all of those aspects of the system really function together, and they depend on each other.
mm-hmm,
Like for example, right now in the United States, um, there's a movement to defund the police, and I had to, when I heard about that, you know, on the surface, it sounds good for someone such as myself who thinks that the criminal justice system and the law enforcement system um, is it's not really for the good of the people ultimately,
mm-hmm,
but really it's because it's an arm of the whole system that's not for the good of the people. Now, if you want to keep the whole rest of the system, but you take away the law enforcement aspect, what you're likely to have is chaos.
mm.
I had to think about that. I was like, is that really the direction that we're trying to go right now? That I, you know, that I would, that is that really the direction I think would be beneficial for our society right now? Maybe, but maybe not. And, you know, why maybe not is because if you have a system of people with no moral integrity, with no self control, with no accountability for their own, even how they feel within themselves, and you try to ask those people to function in an orderly way, um, I think people will have to see just how chaotic the situation would be before they realize they have to take more responsibility for their own conditions and their own communities. Right now, I don't think we're there, you know, and maybe what it would take is to have a catastrophic situation. But me being a person who's committed to the preservation of life, I'm not going to be the one calling for that.
Yeah. So it's about, as you say, then really working on self, basically, then really, isn't it, and taking that control and responsibility.
It's all about the self. Everybody can only be responsible for their own self. It's only in a society that's based on law that we feel like force uh we can force other people to do what we think they should do.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, it's up to each individual to make their own choices. Because when we have a society of law, you end up in a situation where, maybe you have police who's supposed to keep people from um, maybe doing the wrong thing, right? Or enforce the law so that people don't kill each other, don't steal from each other, and so on and so on. But then who's going to enforce the law on the police and make sure they don't do the same thing?
Well, this is
I
it.
mean, the police are the ones who will pull you over if you run a red light, right?
Yeah.
I don't know about in London there, okay, but I know in Chicago, the police are always the ones running the most red lights out of anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the same thing here. But in saying that, still really right. They're accountable.
Well, I've never seen a police pull over another police,
No, but as
and I
public,
think,
as a general
and I
public,
think
though.
if I think if the police were, if I don't think if the police were scared of getting in trouble for running a red light, that they would do it, over 50% of the time.
You say that, yeah. I saw a video a little while back, right, and it was someone actually pulled over. It was a cyclist. A police is on a cycle, yeah, and he pulled him
Hmm.
over, and officer like, yeah. So can I help you? And he said, yeah. You didn't signal. And he said, yeah. So he said, well, you didn't signal, because if that was me, you would have pulled me over. So he reversed the role of the police. And the police got really frustrated because the public now was actually doing to him what they would have done to him, yeah? And so
Hmm.
that frustration and anger and everything built up there, really, right? But they are accountable. It's just that we don't know how to exercise our rights in the sense, really, right, that under the system that they're governing us, not that we want to conform to that system there, but they are accountable because that's a law that puts them into power, you know?
Well, if the police are accountable, it will be the public to make them accountable. But for the public to make them accountable, the public will first have to be cohesive within itself.
Mm-hmm.
The public will actually have to be cooperative with each other first before
Exactly.
trying to impose anything on the police. I mean, I always thought that it would be easy to stop people from getting shot by the police if people every time, how, I mean, again, I can only go on my experience here, but we have this phenomenon where someone gets pulled over and there's another police officer who happens to be driving by, they will stop with the other police officer. And you might sometimes see two or three police officers for, get mob up on one traffic stop.
Yeah,
You
we get
know,
that here.
now if you have a situation where the public feels the same kind of what's it called, concern for each other, then the public could easily mob up on the police anytime that happens. And then if the police get out of control, then the public won't allow it. But if the public is just as divided and fighting amongst each other and don't like each other and have animosities towards each other, that they're holding unresolved conflicts and things like this with their neighbors, then that will never be possible. So, we have this tendency of always wanting to put the cart before the horse.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be able to function as communities first. Now, this issue of anger becomes one of the key sticking points because, anytime there's like a movement, people trying to come together and try to fix a problem or, accomplish a goal, then um, it always starts off nice. But then the fact that we're all human beings and not perfect different interpersonal conflicts and power struggles and things will come into the fold, and then people will end up with grudges that are and then they'll refuse to work with each other, they'll refuse to function as a group, and then eventually you'll see the splintering of the organization,
Mm-hmm.
and the goals, may or may not be accomplished, but you don't have a lasting cohesive group that's functioning together.
Yeah. But usually though they have like they put in their little infiltrator or someone there to destabilize you, just like when they did with like neo-colonialism, really, where they got their puppets really, like say, in leadership, and the people are seeing people who look like them, thinking that they've been governed by their own, but they've been kind of controlled really the same way. So this is how they destabilize people, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but then the problem is that the problem for us as people who are wanting to see better for our communities is not the fact that colonial forces or whatever kind of whatever you want to call them uh will not send, or will send infiltrators, will send agent provocateurs and things of that nature. That's something that if we're intelligent, we should know and be expecting that to happen. And if it somehow doesn't happen, it just shows that whatever we're trying to do, it must not be any threat to them anyway.
Yeah.
But if you're legitimately, doing something that's going to potentially disrupt their power structure or take some of their influence away, then you have to know that they're going to be trying to, in subtle ways, find a way to get you to self-destruct.
Yeah.
Now, that's the reality. Now, see, if we blame the fact that they send people to make us self-destruct for the fact that we self-destruct, that's just like saying, oh, so and so made me angry. Because if a group of people are functioning intelligently, one or two people are not going to be able to come and destroy the whole movement, because there's going to be ways that the movement can get those people to either leave by themselves, or um, they'll, their whatever actions that they're doing won't be tolerated if it's something destructive.
Mm-hmm.
So again, if a group of people, so for example, right, if you have a group of people, and this is to tie it back to our main topic, if you have a group of people who's functioning together, someone comes in and they try to make one group turn against one part of the group, turn against the other part of the group, let's say the men versus the women, or the women versus the men. And if they come and say, hey, you women, you shouldn't accept for the men to do this or say this, or, act like this, or you shouldn't do this for them, or what have you, right? Then if they're not in control of their self, and they allow their pride and they allow their emotions, they allow whatever to get them to be triggered to reject whatever has been providing them stability in their community, then what can you expect?
Mm-hmm.
But if they're functioning intelligently, and they say, even if this person has a point, there's a way to resolve the problem without rejecting everything that's bringing me stability. There's a way to say, okay, if this person's right, there's a problem here, then having the emotional control, you can find a way to calm yourself down, address the problem in an intelligent way, talk about it with the person. And then if as a group, everyone's honestly trying to step together and find the best way for everybody, then you won't reject what someone else brings to you out of concern. for the well-being of the whole. And then, then that agent provocateur, all they did was help you solve a problem. You see?
We're gonna take a short little kind of interlude here, right? We could get back. Yeah, just give you time to take a sip of water. Yeah.
I'm fasting right now, so I won't be
Oh,
doing
you
that.
still?
But yeah, it's still light out over here. Actually, it's
Yeah.
only 4 o'clock in the p.m. But yeah, a break is fine. I'll enjoy some nice tunes, and I'll be ready.
Black woman, like me, you struggled long. You trod one of life's roughest road, and with the heaviest load. To be someone to belong, but you're nearing your mile and a half furlong. Don't give up now, just pray for strength now. For you, I dedicate my song. La 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 We are the safe ones in the plantation, flashes to us king. On auction blocks with the chain and coat and of merchandise. Carnally abused when war we were refused and thrown in the garbage bin. But no need for that now. Free yourself of that now and help me sing my song. La da 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 When you're fighting, stand up for the right thing, and not that which is wrong. I heard Rachel mourning for her children, when Herod and Pharaoh took their little heads. But like Mary and like Joseph, the mother of Moses too, overcame man's evil devices. I dedicate my song for you. La da 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 Black woman, know you've struggled long. I feel your afflictions. For you, I dedicate my song. La 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 la
Ujai Sen. Ujai.
Ujai.
Yeah, welcome back, man. Yeah, there's a few little points we wanted to kind of just
Getting to
we
know.
didn't get to go into anger like from the holy drama perspective. I wanted to touch on that a little bit there. Yeah, because as you say, really we're only what we get exposed to, and I'm not putting the blame on the gods. But we see like from the holy drama there where there was anger and frustration there as well. Could you just share with the listeners a little bit about what you see there in the holy drama on
Set and
Well,
his destruction mode against his brother Wusa and the aggressiveness that he showed?
well, okay. One thing that's important to keep in mind is that we don't judge the divine world.
Mm-hmm.
We don't we don't judge gods because we see them as higher than us.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow they are beings that have huge roles in the universe that maintain the stability of the existence that we depend on for our life. So we don't judge them.
Mm-hmm.
Set's a part of that. We also have Wisser, his brother, aka Osiris,
Mm-hmm.
Asar. You know, um, we also have Aishat, his wife, Wisser's wife, aka Isis, Aset, so on. Now, Aishat is the one who really played the instrumental role, and more or less, I mean, you could even say was the main character, the main protagonist, if there is such a thing in a holy story.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she was the one who had to first of off get the news that her husband had been killed. Then she goes through all the efforts to recover her husband's body, and then Set finds it and cuts it into 14 pieces and scatters those pieces to make it very difficult for her to find and resuscitate him, which she eventually ends up doing. But of course, she has her, I mean, I'm not going to say of course, but she has her outbursts, you could say, or a cry, a great cry that she let out to, in her anguish. And, well, again, she's a goddess. She's someone above us, but even she had some emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So we as a human being, and we see her as her like ancestral mother. Um, she had her emotions. Well, uh, we have our emotions too. Things can trigger our emotions. What you saw with Aisha was that she got herself under control and she went back about her business to accomplish the goal that she set out to achieve. Now, if we do our best, we still are not going to succeed 100% in controlling our emotions. But if we fail to control our emotions in a moment and let our emotions out, we have to find a way to gather ourselves and recover our regain our composure basically. So that's what I could draw from the holy drama. I'll also say that the human being, it's important to keep in mind when considering the holy drama that ultimately the one that the human beings that we really identify with the most is Heru, which is the child of Wisser and Aisha,
Mm-hmm.
or also known as Horus, Heru or Horus. He is the one who we identify with the most.
Mm-hmm.
So in the story, we don't see Heru um, so much being emotional. We see him get tricked, but we don't see him be, uh, get angry and so on. So even though Aisha gets angry, and even though we can gain a lot of inspiration from Aisha and her story and her experience and all this, we identify ourselves with Heru, and Heru doesn't really have excuses for, you know, not following what the path that was set for him for,
Would you like the
reclaiming his
special
father's kingdom.
menu?
Um, Let me see. there was something else that I wanted to say on the topic of anger, but was there something else that you guys didn't that we didn't get to talk about yet that you wanted to?
No, no. If you got something to import, really, please do. Yeah.
Okay. Um. So when it comes to anger, and we talked about many different reasons why a person might get angry. We talked about injustice, but we also talked about um, things that a person, may be doing even to themselves that it's hard for us to watch, hurtful for us to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when thinking about all those different examples, one thing we have to keep in mind is that what will help us is, or what hurts us is the fact that we have an outcome that we want to see, and we are angry because it's not happening the way we want.
Yeah.
We can break down most of our emotional, you know, outbursts to that more or less simple type of scenario. Things aren't going the way we want. And
Jason.
yes, I got another phone call, excuse me.
Yeah.
So it's really this aspect of detachment or attachment that becomes a problem for us because we are attached to the way we want things to be, and it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't fit the reality of what things are.
Yeah.
Now, the fact of the matter is that human beings were all different. My choice isn't going to be your choice. If I think that I can just be mad at you about whatever choices you make because I don't agree with them,
Mm-hmm.
uh, then that's me like sacrificing my quality for something that really doesn't, that's really out of my hands.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can try to find an intelligent way to maybe show you a different path to take. But if I'm just reacting out of my emotions, chances are whatever my reaction is going to be is not going to influence you to change what you're doing because you're just going to see my own lack of self-control. You see? So the attachment is really a huge part of what brings us problems with regards to our emotions, with regards to anger, with regards to our interpersonal relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And and so even if another person is doing something that you can say is clearly wrong, or it might be clear to you that it's wrong, even if it's not clear to them, being angry about it because you decided, things shouldn't be going this way.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not really the one to, we as individual human beings, we're not the ones to decide how things should be. Because easily someone can look at us and point at probably 10 things we're doing wrong too.
Yeah. Definitely.
So that's where humility comes in. That's where detachment comes in. We have to detach ourselves from our expectations of how we think things should be.
Mm-hmm.
If we can't detach ourselves, then we're always going to find ourselves in these kind of frustrations, this type of anxiety, these types of worries and things like that, because reality is going to be what it is.
Mm-hmm.
However much we might try to worry, however much we might try to act out of our emotions to change the things that are going on, it's not. It doesn't really help our cause for one thing, and it doesn't bring a benefit to the whole of our existence or maybe our surroundings that are affecting us. So yeah, that's really what I wanted to close with about anger, like the practical things we can do.
Mm-hmm.
We have to exercise. We have to exercise You mentioned patience. For sure, we'll need to exercise
Yeah.
patience. We'll have to question ourselves. We'll have to exercise honesty with ourselves. We'll have to exercise humility about our own limitations, about our own smallness in the grand scheme of things. We'll also have to exercise detachment from our expectations or our own preferences about a situation.
Yeah, definitely. And that takes a lot of kind of work, hard work.
Maybe you could say a whole lot.
Yeah, we're going to be kind of closing off really shortly. So I know you've just kind of say given a little outline, but anything else you'd like to say to people to help them, to assist them really kind of in, especially like the children then really, right? Because I think they're the ones really, right, that's you know, the young, like your young children now really, how the system is going to program them. And you know, the tune that I played before, like the Black Woman there, I select that tune there because I think the problems that the mothers them have out there really, you know, they have to be really, really strong because they're like the ones really that's kind of nurturing our children and guiding them through to get them to where they are or where they should be in life, you know. Especially like how we see our society is kind of breaking up families and things like that. And oftentimes they're left alone with the children and to kind of you know, to guide them really. So you know, any words of that you can put out there to help to assist some of these challenges that's faced by the mothers them out there really in, because we know children get frustrated when they can't accomplish what they need to and where society is putting a blockage on them. We can see that frustration in a lot of the young youths where they've given up. Frustration because what, you know, you're talking about the police stopping, you know, stop and search and that kind of thing. You know, just something to help to guide them really, because I know that there's a lot of them out there that's facing a lot of problems. They don't know how to deal with these issues.
So you want me to say something to speak to the youth?
Yeah, to the yeah, just yeah, just
Well, you know, when you're young, you don't really have as much of a understanding of time. And our own perception when we're younger is that things can change much faster than what's really realistic. We can see how things are, and we can say, oh, if I do this, if I do that, I can change what's happening, because we haven't seen enough and experienced enough to really know our limitations. And that again becomes like how the society really capitalizes on this kind of frenzy that we get into as young people to want to dive into whatever movement or whatever cause or whatever is in front of us that we think is important to do, that we think is going to change the world. And then 10 years later and things are the same as they were, because the system is built to know how to perpetuate itself despite all the different causes that it might put for us to distract ourselves with. However honest we might be about the changes that we want to see, we should be more realistic with ourselves about our own limitations. And that's, I know, hard for a young person to accept. But and the reason it might be hard to accept is because maybe it sounds like accepting defeat. But that's not the same thing as accepting defeat. Accepting defeat would be deciding to do the same thing that people have been doing for the last 100 years and failing. That would be more like accepting defeat. Not to be patient and not fight a battle that is a losing battle from the beginning. To not get into that battle is that's not the same as accepting defeat. what will be wise for any young person who wants to see change, is to take your youthful energy and find some place or some person or group of people where you can really learn practically what you can do, from people who have more experience than what you have. Humble yourself to learn and give your efforts into increasing your capabilities, increasing your own qualities, the qualities that you'll need to have to face all the problems that this world is going to bring you. And then you can have some direction to put your energy that's going to actually be beneficial to this cause that you want, this
Yeah.
cause of change that you want to take on. You know, don't be impatient, don't be arrogant, don't be, dishonest or what's the word? Disillusioned.
Don't give up.
Yeah, don't give up. Well, don't give up, but don't
Yeah.
give up doesn't just mean, moving forward without questioning what you're doing. Because sometimes don't give up will be like we get so into what we're doing and invested in going in a direction that even when we start seeing that it's not the right way or that it's not bringing us the results that we want, we still try to force and continue to push on that path with, saying I'm not going to give up and thinking that things will change if I just keep trying. But keeping trying and you're not questioning what's the reason really why I'm failing. You're just going to keep bumping your head against the same wall and it's not going to go anywhere. We've seen it for the last, 100 years of social movements. I mean, since Marcus Garvey, I want to say, we've had all these different social movements, which no disrespect to the leaders or the people who follow them, but we see where we are now. It hasn't gotten us to the place that we're trying to go.
Yeah.
So if we go and we say, we're going to do the same thing that people before us have done, whether we know it or not, that's what these movements now are doing. Then that's just to say we want the same result. We Master Naba gave us a very, very clear set of questions that we should ask ourselves when we're thinking about embarking on a path or doing something.
Yeah.
Has it been done before?
Yeah.
What were the results? If yes, what were the results? And then, are those the results that I want for myself? And you can see over and over and over people failing to, take those logical steps to to question themselves and make sure that they are not, doing or fighting the wrong battles, as we would say.
Yeah.
Logical steps to question themselves and make.
Ojai. Ojai.
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you talking?
Yeah. No. You just went a bit. It kind of faded out a little bit there. Yeah.
Oh, I was done. I just was saying those asking those questions would keep us from fighting the wrong battles.
Yeah, definitely. There are very important steps really to make, as you say, because it's just a vicious cycle. Then really we're replicating all the time, really, isn't it? Yeah. And so on that note, we're gonna kind of wrap up the show, really, right? So we just want to say dua for again your inputs, really, and just hope that they were listening, really, because we have to look out for the youths, really, right, because they are the future, and to stop them from putting themselves into positions, really, right, that's going to be compromising for the system, really, to kind of as you were saying before, to shoot and kill them and that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm just hope that they take heed, really, and just remember those steps, really, that you just You're just giving them to use as part of the tools that they need to navigate themselves through this society. And so, until the next time, Atini
Yes,
KASABEZ.
sir. Duao again for having me back on the show, and Duao also for keeping the show going. Appreciate your efforts to keep this going so that we can have this platform to really share with the world. So yeah, Duao.
Nene. Alright then. Iriru.
Hiro.
Dua. And we're just gonna play you Dennis Emmanuel Brown. Let's see.
Bless FM.
It's a promised land, well, the promised land, going to the promised land. Yes, the promised land, oh gosh now, to the promised land. Well, make a step down to Asmara, then we stop in Addis Ababa. Made our way to Shashamaniland, riding on the King's Highway to the promised land, going to the promised land. Oh gosh, to the promised land, oh, to the promised land. Well, there's plenty of land for you and I, by and by. Lots of food to share for everyone. No time for segregation in the promised land. Oh gosh, take me to the promised land. It's the promised land, oh, that's the promised land. Oh, yeah. Said we're riding on the King's Highway from Cairo to Kenya. Made a stop in Asmara, then we made another one in Addis Ababa. The promised land, going to the promised land. Oh gosh, save the promised land. Yeah, I'm the promised land. Oh. Then I said to myself, give a thanks for the prophet God, for he gave me the teaching so I could see the reality of my true being and liberty. There's a lot of work to be done, oh gosh, in the promised land. Yeah, talking about the promised land. Yes, to the promised land. The promised land. Going to the promised land. Oh, the promised land. Oh, the promised land. Yeah, the promised land. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Brother man, what are you doing for the promised land? Gotta take your stand and let the brightness live on. Yeah, there's work to be done. No, you can't run. Got a job to be done, so you gotta do it even a little by a little. Yes, the promised land. Moving to the promised land. Said the promised land. Moving to the promised land. Prophets of old said the west got to perish. Yeah. Oh, don't let your hopes and aspirations come before you. No way. Gotta go, gotta go, got to go, I got to go, got to go to the promised land. Oh gosh, in the promised land.
Okay, duo for that. Yeah, that was Dennis Brown, Promised Land. And we just want to read out our contact number once again. For the, if you want to contact the Earth Center, you can contact the London Temple, which is in London here in the Leighton. Our number for there is 0208 558 3678. For any of the memorabilia that you would like to purchase or anything like that, you know, there's books, you know, written by Master Nabber himself, CDs on his lectures and things like that. We've got, like, say, the 70s, we spoke about the 77 Commandment there. You know, the Firefly magazines, which has got such good articles in there, written by, you know, KASABEZ, who's one of the main writers in the Firefly magazine there. Got some good articles there to read. Yeah, so just, you know, for our fundraising for the children, you can go on the www. Website there, www.theearthcenter.org, and from there you'll be able to navigate yourself to whichever, you know, branch that you want to reach. We've got the Coventry Temple there. The number is 02-476-266859 or 0730-5995-944. And so for those who are on that side in the Midlands there, you can and you're interested in the Earth Center, you can contact on those numbers. And we just want to give out the number for Bless Radio. It's 07944431366. That's for future reference, really, so you can take a note of that. And we just want to say Dua for Bless for giving us the opportunity. You know, the Earth Center, we're very grateful. Really like to have this platform so that we can continue to try to share with you some of the work and what initiation is about and the challenges that we go through, and just share some of the information of how it helps us really to kind of say put some kind of a structure to our lives, really. Because if we don't have that guidance there, then society, you can see where the system basically has taken control of people. So, yeah. And on that note, we're going to sign out.
This song goes in the memory of the beloved prophet Nipnabala Musa Marudinabig, the doggone prince. Maheru, the truth teller. Besina Basa, which means I'll be appreciated after I'm gone. He's the man who overcome the devils with love. He's the man who speaks because he has something to say. The man of wisdom, the definition of humanity. Maheru, Maheru, Maheru. From far away, from far away, far away, from far away, West Africa. From far away, Prophet Naba, far away, Lamusa, far away, Tenebi, far away, Prophet from far away, Prophet Naba, far away, from far away, from far away, Prophet far away. He's the man of wisdom. He's the man who lives by faith, and not by fear. His greatest wealth is the richness of his soul. He's the man who lives by faith and not by fear. He's the double-edged sword. He's the double-edged sword. He's the key to unlock their treachery. Follow truth and you shall find him. He's the definition of humanity. He's the beginning and the end. He's the prophet Naba. Far away, from far away, far away, from far away, West Africa. From far away, Prophet Naba. Far away, Lamusa. Far away, Tenebi. Far away, Prophet from far away, Prophet Naba. Far away, from far away, from far away, Prophet far away. Bob Marley say, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophet while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. We gotta fulfill the boy. Come to Maheru, come to Maheru, come to Maheru, come to Maheru, come to Maheru. He got your own told story. Come from far away.